Miz is the champion again. And with that, WWE kind of destroyed Raw. No, I'm really not kidding. I'm looking at this from a viewpoint of you need to sell your show. You need to sell the show and really, really do put effort into it. And by the time Raw was dealing with all the ratings issues and the USA Network allegedly wants darker, edgy content, violent content, and WWE clearly doesn't want to do that because investors, I they had opted to give Miz winning the cash in to win the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre, who just had a massive match in the Elimination Chamber. I look at this match and say, Elimination Chamber is WWE Raw's biggest folly because this whole show was essentially its massive decline. When by the time this is just my opinion. If you still like Raw, that's your prerogative, your choice. But for me, it's much like reminding me of Activision at a time when their three biggest selling points to get that 80%, that like a massive percentage of their revenue was Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, and World of Warcraft. Guitar Hero oversaturated itself and collapsed for a long period of time, and then there were only two pillars left that was keeping it afloat. If those two pillars, other pillars fell, then Activision would lose a lot of money in the process. Considering what Activision has become nowadays, people would probably wish that did happen. But Raw is kind of in that same position. Raw was being pretty much carried by Drew McIntyre, by Edge, and by Bray Wyatt, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong. Like, some people don't like McIntyre's champ. Like, there are people that think that. People didn't want Edge to be around because part-timers are the devil these days. Thanks a lot, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. And people also didn't like Bray Wyatt and the satanicness and the mockery of the faith. Because that was the thing. So, yeah. And Miz's story... Here's what I said about this. I wrote on Twitter, Raw has lost Edge and has lost Drew as their champ. If this was 2018 Miz, I would have been more accepting of this booking since they could have used it to build YestleMania II. The Miz of now doesn't feel warranted to be world champion, given how misbooked he's been lately, in my opinion. And someone commented saying, this was to get the belt from Drew and put it on Priest. Wait, it's 2021 WWE booking. They are going to ruin it by putting the belt on Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. Okay, if that actually happens, I'm going to cry. But I responded saying, like I said, I'd be more forgiving of this decision had Miz's prior booking was better. 2016 to early 2019 Miz would demolish mid 2019 to present Miz. Especially on the microphone. Because this is the thing. Many were advocating that Miz had this special feud with Bryan. They would have matches, like maybe two matches before WrestleMania, where Miz defeats Bryan at SummerSlam. Then they do the tag team match. Miz's wife and him win the match. Then they do one more singles match. Miz gets the victory over Daniel Bryan, becomes number one contender, and dethrones AJ Styles and becomes the world champion. He avoids Daniel Bryan like the plague for months on end. Bryan wins the Rumble, decrees he's going after the WWE champion Miz, leading to the long-awaited revenge story for Bryan to get his payback on Miz for what happened in 2016. And Miz tries to do whatever he can to get Bryan out of the main event, even if it means trying to dig into his past, the concussion protocols, trying to be as desperate as possible because that's how Miz's character is. He's desperate to keep that belt. But the Miz now, it doesn't have that. I can't imagine this Miz being the champion, even if he's been champion once. And even then, they acknowledged that, yeah, that was way too early. But this Miz doesn't feel warranted to be champ. I can't picture it. I can't. I'm looking at it, and I'm still like, I don't see it. I don't see this Miz being the world champion. And like I said, this is the same show that had written out Edge of Raw storylines. They moved him to SmackDown. He's gonna fight Roman. Drew McIntyre, what Bray Wyatt hasn't returned yet, and his storyline with with Randy Orton is still the main focal point in all this. Yeah. And now you have to go ahead and realize, oh wait, this is problematic. Yeah. So, yeah. He didn't even show up at Elimination Chamber, so Bray Wyatt's not back yet, and they're clearly building to Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, probably Firefly Funhouse. So, yeah, that's probably problematic. And even the subplots they were building for this match didn't even get going right. They had Randy Orton got livid after being eliminated by Kofi, and I'm just thinking to myself, where was Ali in all this? Shouldn't he have been the reason Kofi gets eliminated or something? But yeah, I'm just so confused at this decision. I would have loved if Ali did the same thing he did to Ed, that Edge did to Kofi all those years ago, and have Ali get this breakout performance and try to say, I'm that champion. And sure enough, Bobby Lashley was the reason Miz became champion. Yeah, but... And then they posted the Angry Miz Girl gif, because of course they did. And I'm once again wondering, what do you replace your best champion you had going for you lately that's not Roman Reigns and also Edge? You have Bad Bunny. Look, all due respect to him and all the money and news headlines he's been making, I'm just not interested. He's just doing the celebrity appearance. I'm not complaining about him being a part of the WrestleMania build. I mean, like, WWE WrestleMania celebrity appearances are pretty much ingrained in their DNA, so that's always going to be a thing. It's just, why is he being billed for a match? Why is Damian Priest now being turned into a subplot character and not having a major storyline? That's just my 2 cents on that. People are hoping Damian Priest can get mainstream attention. Yeah, he can, but then people are like, okay, what can he bring to the table after Bad Bunny? And like, we can see what he brings because we watch him in Ring of Honor and NXT, and we all believe he can thrive, be in the main roster, and hopefully not suffer the same fate as Elias, who was thriving on the main roster, but because he did too much of a good job, that means it's a problem. So, yeah, the fact that now you've lost 2 of your biggest pillars, your other biggest pillar isn't back yet, and his storyline with Alexa Bliss and Orton is still the main focal point of Raw right now. We don't know when he's coming back. I know it's going to be probably before Mania, or they're probably going to wait till Mania, like the Undertaker style, where Bray Wyatt doesn't show up for months, then Taker comes back at WrestleMania. So they're probably going to do something like that with Bray Wyatt this time, play a little poetry or rhyme style. But now it's like, you have now Fastlane and WrestleMania. You have no one to carry WWE storylines, the top storylines of Raw. I have now no investment besides Bray Wyatt. He's the only thing now for me carrying Monday Night Raw. I was barely watching at this point. Now I don't even have to feel the need to watch the clips. Unless, Orton wants to go ahead and commit arson and attempted murder again. Why is that the main selling point? Have you noticed that all of 2020 WWE's major focal and selling point was, we don't have any quality storylines? I'm like, we have some, but they're not enough to sell the brand. Just do shock value murder attempts. Baron Corbin, go try and kill Elias. Jeff Hardy, run over Elias. Sheamus, reference Jeff Hardy's addiction, even though he just came back from it. Have Orton end the year with burning Alexa up, allegedly. Yeah, have you noticed that WWE's main selling point all throughout last year was murder and bloodlust and violence? That's just confusing for me. But, yeah. But, yeah. I'm using the Bray Wyatt Funko because it's just adorable. because we don't even know what Bray Wyatt's gonna look like after he comes back. They're already teasing his resurrection, so maybe he'll show up at Fastlane, maybe he won't, maybe he'll show up at Mania. Who knows? But now it's like you have so many unknown variables with WWE Raw. It's like, well, I don't know how to care. Like, I have to wait till Bray Wyatt gets back now. I'm like, yeah, Drew McIntyre's going to do his thing with Hurt Business, but MVP's out. Cedric Alexander looks like he's leaving. And when I mean MVP's out, he's injured. Miz is probably going to be associated. And before we get to the Keith Lee nonsense, he's reportedly injured, so he's out off the list of what could have been interesting for Raw to sell. And I think at this point that Vince is going to give up because he potentially could have been risk getting COVID because his now fiance Mia Yim got sick. No blaming her. No, I'm not blaming her as a person because you can't anticipate when you get sick, and it's probably not even your fault. Unless you're forcibly going to a party or someone who doesn't follow protocols is doing it, in which case then we can blame you, but we have no evidence to back that up. So we'll just say she got sick and hope she's better. But from what it sounds like, she is better, and Keith Lee's perfectly looking all right. Then he gets a injury, and they're saying it's Bobby Lashley who did it. But now I'm thinking to myself, so if Keith Lee's hurt and the COVID scare happened, I get the feeling Vince is like, man, that kid has such promise. Probably not going to push him now. He's too much of a risk. Especially, he doesn't even do what big men wrestlers do, be slow and intimidating. He's too agile and fast and moves like a cruiserweight. Seriously, why is he the one having to go back and refine himself when Nia Jax exists in the main roster, going ahead screaming, my hole! So yeah, thanks a lot, Vince. You tore down 2/3 of your main selling factors for me for Raw, and now I'm going to be like, well, should I just wait till Bray Wyatt comes back? Because Alexa Bliss is Alexa Bliss, and she's just the harbinger and the herald and the cult leader. And wait till he comes back, then we can get Firefly Funhouse. And once Bray Wyatt's story with Orton's done, then if there's nothing to replace the void you left with Edge gone, and potentially Drew McIntyre's role in WWE Championship contention probably being on hold for a while, is probably on the back burner. There's no other selling points for me. I have virtually no selling points to make from this. Miz is champion. Whoop-de-doo. It's sadly no longer 2018 or even 2016, where that would have been feeling warranted, where it felt like it could be earned. But no, it's not. It's not there. And that's just my 2 cents. So Miz, you're going to have a tough time trying to convince fans that you can do this. And Bray, maybe you should just go into the Hall of Fame at this point. You're the only one now going to be carrying Raw on your back through proxy by Alexa Bliss. So, Bray Wyatt, your story, it's going to be carrying WWE again. My God, I thought for sure he was going to get away from that. But he's carrying WWE Raw again. Roman's going to be carrying pretty much the entire company on his back. So, you might as well just have Bray Wyatt move to SmackDown and just have the match with Roman and just say, they're the best stories going, let's do it. So, yeah, this was Near Reality delivering an impromptu WrestleVerse video. Elimination Chamber 2021, WWE Raw's Folly. This was my content. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my content in the description below and search them up in the YouTube search bar. All right, and subscribe to all my stuff. I'll see you all next time. Stay tuned for more, and peace out. Take care.